Dude, imagine popping something out of your throat that smells like rotten eggs or straight up sulfur, and it's a tiny, hard little stone. Yeah, that's tonsil stones for you, these nasty, smelly, calcified blobs that about 10% of people deal with at some point. They make your breath reek like you swallowed a dozen bad, hard-boiled eggs, give you that weird metallic taste, maybe even a random cough. But here's the wild part. They're basically bacterial fortresses, little calcium igloos full of microbes hiding out in the back of your throat. And once you understand why they form, you can actually stop them from coming back for good. Today we're breaking down exactly what causes these things, why your breath suddenly smells like death, and the natural ways to prevent them without popping antibiotics that wipe out your good bacteria. Stick around because this could save you from that embarrassing moment when someone leans in and gets hit with the funk.
Hey, if you're enjoying this video, hit the subscribe button and join the family. New videos every week. Don't forget to like, comment, and share.
So, picking out from that nasty smell we talked about in the hook, those little stones that make your breath smell like you just ate a dozen rotten eggs? Yeah, they don't just show up out of nowhere. To really get why tonsil stones happen, you got to understand what your tonsils are actually there for. Think of them like the bouncers at the club that is your body. They're sitting right in the back of your throat, these soft, kind of spongy tissues that look a little bit like almonds if you ever get a good look in the mirror with a flashlight. They're basically your first line of defense. Super similar to lymph nodes, but specialized for the mouth and throat area. Every time you breathe in some sketchy air, swallow something funky, or just have normal mouth bacteria floating around, your tonsils are on duty. They trap pathogens, viruses, bacteria, whatever before those bad guys can slide down deeper into your lungs or stomach. And here's the cool part, tonsils are like mini immune factories. They cranked out T cells, which are those specialized immune soldiers that spot invaders, learn their weaknesses, and start building a defense plan against them. So when everything's working right, your tonsils are quietly doing hero work 24/7, keeping junk from turning into full-blown infections. But when things go sideways, like after a long round of antibiotics, chronic tonsillitis, or your immune system takes a hit, that's when the trouble starts brewing. Those same tonsils that are supposed to protect you end up becoming the perfect hideout for bacteria that don't want to leave. And that's exactly how tonsil stones get their start. But hold up, because the real story behind these stones is even crazier. They're not just random gunk, they're straight up bacterial fortresses. So yeah, we just talked about how your tonsils are these hard-working immune gatekeepers in the back of your throat, trapping bad stuff and pumping out T cells to keep you safe. But when that defense system gets worn down, boom, that's when the real problem kicks in. Those little white or yellowish chunks you, or someone close to you, sometimes cough up or see when you open wide. Those aren't just random throat gunk. They're tonsil stones, and they're way more organized and gross than they look. Here's the breakdown. Tonsil stones are basically biofilms. Picture tiny calcium igloos like little cement bunkers built by bacteria. These microbes aren't floating around loose, they're smart. They hunker down inside these hard calcified shells to protect themselves from everything trying to kill them, your saliva, mouthwash, even antibiotics. It's like bacteria saying, you can't touch me in here. That protective shield lets them chill, multiply, and party in the deep crevices of your tonsils, which are full of little pockets and folds perfect for this kind of hide and seek. And because these bacteria are the sulfur-producing type, they pump out hydrogen sulfide gas, the same stuff that makes rotten eggs smell like death. That's why people with tonsil stones get that signature rotten egg or metallic breath that just won't quit no matter how much gum or mouthwash you use. Some folks even get a weird metallic taste in their mouth all the time, or they'll randomly start coughing because one of these stones gets loose and irritates the throat. Super annoying, right? And the worst part, once the biofilm sets up shop, it's tough to kick out with normal stuff. This whole biofilm situation usually ramps up after something messes with your natural defenses. Think chronic tonsillitis that keeps coming back, or a long stretch of antibiotics that wiped out the good bacteria along with the bad. When your microbiome gets thrown off balance, the bad guys move in and start building those little stone houses. And trust me, it's not just a tonsil thing. Biofilms are behind a ton of stubborn infections, like 59% of sinus issues, ear infections, even UTIs. These bacteria are pros at surviving. But here's where it gets interesting. Knowing they're biofilms means we can actually fight them smarter without nuking your whole system. And there are some legit natural ways to keep them from coming back. Alright, so we've covered how tonsils are your throat security team and how tonsil stones are basically bacterial bunkers. Those calcium igloos full of sulfur-smelling microbes that turn your breath into a biohazard. But here's the million-dollar question most people ask next. Why do some folks get these things over and over, while others never even know they exist? It usually starts with something that throws your throat's natural balance out of whack. The biggest culprits? chronic tonsillitis, that repeated low-grade inflammation where your tonsils stay swollen and irritated for weeks or months. Every time that happens, it creates the perfect environment for bacteria to settle in those deep tonsil folds and start building their little stone condos. Then there's antibiotics. Look, antibiotics can be lifesavers, but when you take them a lot, especially long courses for recurring infections, they don't just kill the bad bacteria. They wipe out a ton of the good guys too. That leaves your mouth microbiome wide open, like a neighborhood with no cops. The bad bacteria that love making biofilms move right in and set up shop. I can't stress this enough. Your good bacteria are your natural defense squad. You sterilize them out, and you're basically rolling out the red carpet for the troublemakers. Other things that crank up the risk are straight-up immune system weakeners. If you're dealing with diabetes, your blood sugar spikes create a sugar buffet for bacteria. They thrive on it. Eating a ton of sugar or being on a super high-carb diet does the same thing. Chronic stress, lack of sleep, even being on steroids for something else, all of these dial down your immune response and make it easier for biofilms to take hold. And don't sleep on nutrient deficiencies. Being low on zinc or vitamin D is huge. Zinc is like fuel for your immune cells. Without enough, they can't fight as hard. Vitamin D basically tells your immune system where the bad guys are. When either one is low, your tonsils can't defend themselves like they should, and those stones start showing up more often. Oh, and one more trigger that hits a lot of people, especially younger folks or anyone prone to sinus ear issues: dairy. Dairy ramps up mucus production big time, and that extra mucus coats everything, giving bacteria even more places to hide and build. If you're someone who gets chronic sinus infections, ear infections, or tonsillitis flare-ups, cutting dairy can make a noticeable difference fast. Bottom line, anything that keeps your tonsils inflamed, suppresses your immune system, or feeds the bad bacteria sets the stage for tonsil stones to keep coming back. But the good news? Once you know the triggers, you can start shutting them down. And there are some seriously effective natural ways to do it without torching your whole microbiome. So we just laid out all the sneaky ways tonsil stones keep sneaking back: chronic tonsillitis, antibiotics wiping out your microbiome, high sugar intake, diabetes, zinc and vitamin D shortages, dairy turning your throat into a mucus factory. Basically, anything that keeps your immune system on its heels or feeds the bad bacteria gives those biofilm building jerks the upper hand. The awesome part? You don't have to just sit there and deal with rotten egg breath forever. There are some legit natural heavy hitters that act like antibiotics, but without the collateral damage of killing off all your good bacteria. These are the ones that actually target the pathogens making the stones while leaving your microbiome mostly intact. Here are the top 3 that people see real results with when they use them consistently. Number 1, garlic. Not just a little sprinkle on your pizza, we're talking real raw garlic on a regular basis. Garlic has allicin, this crazy sulfur compound that bacteria hate. It punches holes in their cell walls and messes with their ability to stick around and build those calcium igloos. You can crush a clove, let it sit for a few minutes to activate the allicin, then swallow it down with some water or mix it into food. Yeah, you'll smell like garlic for a bit, but it's way better than sulfur breath. A lot of folks who start eating raw garlic daily notice their tonsil stones slow way down or even stop showing up. Number 2, oregano oil. This stuff is, no joke, it's one of the most powerful natural antimicrobials out there. Carbapenem and thymol in oregano oil go after bacteria, fungi, even some viruses. But studies show it's pretty selective and doesn't nuke your beneficial gut and mouth bacteria the way regular antibiotics do. You can get it in capsules or as a diluted oil. Never take it straight, it's super strong. People usually take it for a few weeks when they're trying to clear up chronic issues, then drop to maintenance mode. It's especially clutch if you've been dealing with recurring sinus or throat stuff tied to the same biofilm problem. Number 3, and this one flies under the radar but packs a punch: grapefruit seed extract. It's got compounds that straight up disrupt bacterial membranes and stop them from forming those protective biofilms. Tons of people use it as a natural mouth rinse, diluted of course, or take it internally. The data backs it up as another solid option for knocking down the bad bugs without wiping out the good ones. These 3 are like your natural SWAT team. They go after the troublemakers, so your tonsils don't have to fight as hard. Combine them with cutting back on the triggers we talked about earlier, and you're setting yourself up to win the long game. But there are a couple more everyday changes that make a massive difference, especially if you're prone to mucus or inflammation. Picking up right where we left off, you've got garlic, oregano oil, and grapefruit seed extract as your natural powerhouse trio. Those bad boys go straight after the biofilm building bacteria without torching your good microbiome like regular antibiotics would. But honestly, the real long-term wins come from pairing them with some smart daily tweaks that hit the root causes we talked about earlier. First up, And this one's huge for a lot of people. Ditch, or at least seriously cut back on dairy. I know, cheeseburgers, ice cream, milk in your coffee, it's American comfort food central. But dairy is like rocket fuel for mucus production, especially if your body's already prone to it. That extra thick mucus coats your throat, clogs up those tonsil crevices even more, and gives bacteria the perfect sticky playground to keep building their calcium igloos. If you're someone who deals with chronic sinus pressure, ear stuff, or tonsillitis flare-ups, going dairy-free for a few weeks can be eye-opening. A ton of folks notice way less throat gunk and fewer stones popping up once they make the switch. You can always test it, cut it out, see if your breath and tonsils chill out, then add a little back and watch what happens. Next, rethink the carbs and sugar. A high-carb, high-sugar diet is basically an all-you-can-eat buffet for the bad bacteria. They ferment that sugar and crank out more acid and sulfur gas, which keeps the biofilm party going strong. Switching to lower carb eating, think more protein, healthy fats, veggies starves those troublemakers out over time. It's not about going full keto unless you want to, but just dialing back the soda, candy, bread, and pasta can make your mouth a way less friendly place for stone-forming bacteria. And don't sleep on the nutrient side. This is low-key massive. Get your zinc and vitamin D levels checked if you can. Zinc is straight-up immune rocket fuel. It helps your T cells do their job and keeps inflammation in check. Most Americans aren't getting enough from food alone, so a good supplement, like zinc picolinate or zinc bisglycinate, can make a difference. Same with vitamin D, especially if you're indoors a lot or it's winter. Low D means your immune system's running on fumes and your tonsils can't fight as hard. Fixing those two deficiencies is like giving your body backup reinforcements against biofilms. Put it all together, use the natural trio consistently, cut the dairy and excess sugar, load up on zinc and D, and you're not just treating symptoms, you're changing the whole environment so those stones have a much harder time coming back. A lot of people who've been dealing with this for years finally get relief when they stack these habits. But if you're still curious about the bigger picture, like why your immune system matters so much in all this, there's one more piece that ties it all together. So we've got the playbook now. Hit the biofilms with garlic, oregano oil, and grapefruit seed extract. Cut way back on dairy to stop the mucus overload, dial down the sugar and carbs so the bad bacteria starve, and make sure your zinc and vitamin D levels aren't running on empty. Do those consistently, and a lot of people watch those annoying, smelly stones basically disappear from their life, no more coughing up little chunks or worrying about breath that clears a room. But here's the real talk that ties everything together. None of that stuff works as well if your immune system is still taking hits. Your tonsils aren't just random throat furniture, they're a core piece of your immune defense network. When your overall immunity is strong, your tonsils can do their job better, trap pathogens, crank out those T cells, and keep the biofilm squatters from setting up permanent residence. That's why things like chronic stress, crappy sleep, constant sugar spikes, or being low on key nutrients keep opening the door for tonsil stones. Your immune system gets tired. Inflammation hangs around longer, and suddenly those deep tonsil pockets become prime real estate for bacteria that love hiding in calcium armor. It's a vicious cycle. Weak immunity leads to more inflammation, which leads to more biofilms, which leads to more stones and worse breath. The flip side? Getting solid sleep, 7-9 hours, no scrolling TikTok at 2 a.m., moving your body regularly, even just walks around the neighborhood, keeping stress in check, whether that's hitting the gym, fishing, watching Sunday NFL games, whatever works for you, and eating real food instead of junk, all of that keeps your defenses sharp. Add in the zinc and vitamin D we already talked about, and you're basically giving your tonsils backup from the whole body. A lot of folks who finally kicked tonsil stones for good say it wasn't just one magic trick. It was realizing the stones were a symptom of their immune system asking for help. Fix the foundation, use the natural tools to clear the current squatters, and suddenly your throat stops being a biofilm Airbnb. If you're dealing with this right now, start with the basics. Check those nutrient levels. Cut the dairy and sugar for a couple weeks, and bring in 1 or 2 of the natural antimicrobials. You'll probably notice your breath improving, less gunk in the back of your throat, and way fewer stones showing up. And if you want the deep dive on exactly how zinc and vitamin D run the show for immunity and inflammation, there's one more spot to check out that breaks it all down. So here we are, we've gone from those gross, smelly little stones hiding in your tonsils, all the way to the full picture of why they keep showing up and how your immune system is really calling the shots. Your tonsils are built-in defenders. Biofilms are the bacterial bunkers making the trouble, and everything from antibiotics to dairy to low zinc and D can tip the scales in the bad guy's favor. But you've now got the tools to flip the script. Let's put it all into a simple, no BS action plan you can start today, because nobody wants to keep dealing with rotten egg breath, that metallic taste, random coughs, or fishing chunks out of their throat. Step 1. Start hitting the natural antimicrobials. Pick at least one, or stack two if you're serious. Raw garlic daily, crush a clove, wait 10 minutes, swallow with water or food, oregano oil capsules, follow the label, usually a few weeks strong then maintenance, or grapefruit seed extract, diluted as a rinse or taken internally. These are your direct line of attack on the biofilm builders without wiping out your good bacteria. Step 2. Cut the mucus makers in bacteria food. Go dairy-free for at least 2-4 weeks. That means no milk, cheese, yogurt, ice cream, or hidden dairy and stuff like creamy sauces. Watch how much less throat gunk you have. At the same time, drop the high sugar and high carb junk, less soda, candy, white bread, pastries. Your mouth bacteria will have way less fuel to keep pumping out sulfur gas. Step 3. Shore up your immune foundation. Get your zinc and vitamin D checked if you can, blood test is best, or just start supplementing smart a solid zinc 15-30 mg daily with food, and vitamin D 2000-5000 U depending on your levels. These two alone can make your tonsils and whole immune system way more effective at keeping biofilms from taking over. Step 4. Keep the big picture habits going. Sleep like it's your job, 7-9 hours. Move your body, manage stress however works for you, walks, lifting, watching football, whatever. The stronger your overall immunity, the less your tonsils have to fight solo. Do this combo consistently, and most people see a huge drop-off in tonsil stones within a few weeks to a couple months. Breath gets fresher. No more random coughing fits, no more embarrassment when someone gets close. If they do pop back up once in a while, you'll know exactly why and how to shut it down fast. And if you want the deeper science on how zinc and vitamin D run your immune system and inflammation, especially why they're game changers for stuff like this, check out the video on that exact topic. It's linked right here or pinned up top. It'll connect all the dots even more. That's the full deal on what causes tonsil stones and, way more importantly, how to actually prevent them from coming back. You got the knowledge now. Go take your throat back.